The Habs didn't come out on top, but there are some incredibly positive things to discuss, including Kaden Guhle with an absolute snipe from the point, Juraj Slafkovsky's first goal of the season, plus Emil Heineman and the fourth line lighting it up, not to mention the Bell Center going crazy for Lane Hutson once again, Jesse, as he looked like, maybe other than Guhle, even you could argue Lane Hutson was the best defenseman on the ice tonight, even though Matheson got 2 assists. There are some good things to talk about, and how Montreal was staying right with a veteran Pittsburgh team all the way through the game. We got to talk about all that. Plus, though, we do have some news today, talking a bit about Ivan Demidov, and a recent quote that has a lot of Habs fans really upset, even more than before with Roman Rottenberg, that I want to get your guys' opinions on. Plus, some news on Alex Barré-Boulet. Jesse, first impressions after that game. I know it's not the outcome we wanted. I know Monty was probably due for an off night, but all in all, I really liked, there was a lot of moments in this game where Montreal was sticking right with this team with some really high-end talent.
And this game was up for grabs, right? I was really hoping that maybe they could get it kind of to 4-3, get that fourth goal, which seemed so decisive in this game. Whoever would kind of get that next goal would kind of get the W. But again, Josh, like having a solid second period, which is kind of new for the Montreal Canadiens, pretty amazing. That's a big W there. The power play continuing to roll. We had at one point during the game today where the Montreal Canadiens were at 25% on their power play efficiency. So obviously Slav scoring here, Heineman, continuing his strong play. So lots of positives to take away from this game.
Yeah, it was really, really good to see. And I'm having a lot of fun watching this team, except for maybe the first 10 minutes of this game, which was kind of just like, boys, put the puck on the net, just do something. But anyway,
exactly.
Before we get into all that, I wanted to welcome all you in here. I know we're not going to get as many people in here as usual. Late Monday night, the game took ages to start on Prime, but it is what it is. I want to thank all the channel members here. So we're going to scroll through. We got Derek, we got Jason Patrick, gonna scroll through. We got Mark. Hey, Mark was chatting with you earlier in the chat. We got Alex in here as well. We got Dan. We got lots of great people in the chat here. So many channel members, and of course all the other people. Image One is here. George. Hi everyone. I was happy to see my guy Gally playing with much more hustle. Was skating pretty fast. I will say Gally looked really, really good, and Suzuki had 2 points tonight too. We will get into the game, but I did want to talk first, Jesse, about a little Alex Barré-Boulet news. Wait a minute. Where's my picture? Alex Barré-Boulet cleared waivers and has been sent down to Laval. So, just wanted to mention this briefly because yesterday, we talked about this, how he was put on waivers. We're not going to spend too much time on this, but just wanted to give you guys the news in case you hadn't seen this. To me, Jesse, this Laval team is looking, I know they lost their last game, but they're looking really good in terms of the talent that is showing up right now, whether it's Filip Mesar, whether it's Logan Mailloux, whether it's Owen Beck, Jared Davidson. You're starting to see this production from these young guys coming pretty quick. Joshua Roy, hoping he can pick it up, and I'm sure he will. But Alex Barré-Boulet, like you said yesterday, he's going to give a huge boost to this team. I didn't think any other team would claim him. I was just, maybe second-guessing myself a bit, but I'm glad to see he's officially down there, and I honestly think he'll be back up on the big club before the end of the season at some point.
Yeah, ABB will be a huge, addition for Laval for sure. Help out this team a lot. He is an amazing AHL player, but we know he's got that NHL. He can definitely fill in at that level when needed, right? So he's going to definitely come in handy when injuries inevitably do come, just a part of every team during the season. So he's going to be there to help. I think he did really good, and being able to make the team and everything else like that. So, it'll be great to see him and track his progress in Laval.
Yeah, really happy with that. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on ABB as well, because again, like we mentioned, this dude in his career has been a phenomenal AHL level player. He's always been one of those fringe guys, but those guys are valuable. And he even said he wanted to go to a team where the NHL team's close to the AHL team for situations like this, and Montreal's using it perfectly. But I wanted to move on to Ivan Demidov because a lot of people have been talking about this today, Jesse. Oh, sorry. I wanted to mention this too. By the way, Jacob Fowler won. Just wanted to toss this in here because in case we forgot about Jacob Fowler, he won goaltender of the week again. We should just call it the Jacob Fowler Award. He had a shutout in his first game of the season, let in 4 goals in his second, but he's been amazing, just to let you guys know. But really, it's the Demidov stuff, as we do get a super chat right on time from Alex Savaris saying #free Demidov. Thank you very much, Alex. Honestly, that's what we're about to get into here. So, everyone, if you're clicked away, if you're doing anything else, if you're not looking directly at the screen right now, come back because I want you guys to I want your raw reaction to this. So, Jesse, Roman's getting asked about Demidov every single day from the journalists. And now he's starting to blame journalists, asking these questions for looking too much in American media, whatever. So he said, hey, he's been playing with different partners, including Kuznetsov. Roman says, you're talking about playing time, about ice time. You must have been educated in America. But you have to look objectively at all the qualities. Even if he played one shift and scored the winning goal. I watched the World Juniors. A guy from the US sat the whole game, came out for one shift and scored the winning goal. It means the head coach prepared him well for one shift. There are such examples in football too. Remember Solskjaer, I think, I don't know how you pronounce that, from Norway. He was called the golden substitute. Do you know what that is? So, to me, it's almost sounding like he's pumping his own tires, saying when that moment comes, Demidov will be ready, and you know he's going to be there for that big moment. Which is like, okay. But at the same time, like, he's creating these chances for these moments when he's on the ice. And so let us know in the chat what you think of this take from Rottenberg, Jesse. I know myself, yourself, and a lot of fans have just been saying, like, what even is this? Like, what this to me is not the quote you want to hear from a coach of one of your prospects, but I know he has his own strategy. I guess we'll just have to let it play out.
Yeah, definitely some very obscure references here. It's hard to quite find the logic again with, that, right? Just kind of resting players so they're ready at the time. Like hockey is like, we take shifts for a reason, right? The whole point is to have that flow and being able to roll these various lines, right? And everybody kind of working together. It's a kind of with Roman Rottenberg, you can't even really kind of read between the lines too much because there's just not too much of a logic behind what he's kind of doing right now. Ivan Demidov is one of the best players for SKE, even at being 18 years of age. This guy is absolutely electric on whenever time he does get on the ice, whenever time he is allowed, he just makes things happen. Regardless, all the same. It's actually just showing what a professional he is, just like despite the small amount of times, like he's obviously not letting it affect his mentality too much because his mindset, because he's really going out there and making things happen all the time, just having to stay sharp. So obviously, free Demidov is in full effect, but we know he will have no such problems getting playing time here with the Montreal Canadiens.
No, it's it's weird. Like I get what he's saying on the one hand. On the other, it's like I don't know. Like
really?
I understand the logic. I understand the reference that he's making, saying, sometimes a player can be really prepared for a big moment. However, the way he applies it here doesn't make any sense. Like if this was a completely different situation and someone who hadn't played all year, who was not that good a player, was finally given that moment and they went out and scored, this is where I would use this kind of quote. In a situation like Demidov, to me, it makes absolutely no sense. So, I don't know. It just feels like he took something and used it in the wrong. Anyway, whatever. I'm seeing chats here. Jesse, we got a couple super chats talking specifically about this. Well, Image 1 simply says, Malkin did well for me in fantasy tonight. Sorry, boys, as he donates $2.79. Thank you so much, Image 1. Yeah, we're going to have to look at the fantasy after tonight. I didn't have a chance to look while I was watching the game, but my team has been full of injuries, so we'll have to see. But then Alex Safaris with his 10th super chat on the channel. Leave some love for that as well. Simply saying, #Roman is rotten. Look, I'm not going to come out here and slander Roman Rottenberg. I don't know the guy. I don't agree with his coaching, but that is what it is. I will leave it at that. But yeah, definitely not the best. Jesse, we got George. George's third super chat on the channel. Can I play it? There it is. $6.99 from George. Simply just sending $6.99. Thank you so much, George. And if you want to send another message, I saw your message earlier. We'll happily answer it. Thank you so much for being here, George. It feels like it's been a little while since I've seen you in the stream. And finally, Jesse, Dan L says 3 spots open for Demidov on the second line. Patient with Kirby Dach, though. I mean, I don't know if I'd say, 3 spots maybe. I guess Newhook and Dach, whatever. I guess that's why he's saying patient with 77. We'll see how Line A does, but again, Jesse, Montreal has shown that, if you merit a spot, you're going to get that spot. I mean, see Alex Barré-Boulet, you were a veteran, you were impressive in camp. Emil Heineman stole your spot. Oliver Kapanen stole your spot. It is what it is. I don't think it's crazy to think that Demidov has a legit shot at the second line when he first comes over.
No, definitely not. They're going to put him in a place to succeed. I think he's just going to earn it just based off his own merit for sure. I feel like sometimes, even with star players, sometimes you start them on the fourth or third, but I think with Ivan Demidov, that's just one of those rare occasions where you just go straight to second line with this type of player. It's a little bit different than the Kapanen Heineman situation. Just the pedigree is different, no disrespect to these other players, but Ivan Demidov is just in a whole nother category. It's the second line, making a little stop before he makes his way eventually to a first line in the NHL.
Really looking forward to that. All right. Well, you know what? George did send a message after his super chat. Somebody said, Josh and Jesse and Josh, rah, with the Slafzilla emoji. Mark also saying, Josh, you need a Roman Rottenberger animation. Maybe, but I don't really want to have something on the stream calling someone rotten that I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about that. But I can definitely get where you're coming from. But Jesse, to play off George's message, we are not that one. We're going to play the Slafzilla animation because of the emoticon he sent, and I think that transitions very, very well into the game recap, and we're going to get into this here, and I'm going to play first a couple of the highlights here. First, Kaden Guhle's goal. So Amazon Prime, I kind of liked the production. I didn't like the pregame analysis, but I liked the production of it overall. Kaden Guhle with that absolute bomb, but it wasn't only that, Jesse. Kaden Guhle looked so good tonight. Again, I think until Heineman's goal, he was still on the ice for every Habs 5v5 goal. Absolute snipe job on the amazing fake by Matheson. But it's this too, Jesse. It's Slafzilla getting his first of the season, point per game player with a goal and 3 assists now. Suzuki getting another 2 points himself. He's, I think, above point per game now, or at least at a point per game. To me, I'll start with the first line. The first line, whoops. I mean, why not play it again? I guess we'll play it again. The first line finally looked like they got some of their chemistry back. They looked very dominant. Many of the times they were out on the ice, they looked like the line that was dictating the pace of the game. And that's going up oftentimes against a line that maybe has Sidney Crosby on it. So I was really happy to see this. I know they bounced back a lot last game, but to see Suzuki, Slafkovsky, Caufield, I know that goal came on the power play, but to see them even at even strength and to have this finally start to click for them is, I think, a really good sign heading into the second week of the season.
It is. And the fact that like they're all still getting their points, Caufield's just been on an absolute goal scoring tear to start out the season. Slaf, as you mentioned, Zooks, getting his points as well. It's like, and the fact that we still feel like maybe a little bit's lacking is just such a great sign. It kind of shows to our higher expectations. Just imagine like once they do start really going, right? Even though they are still getting the points right now, it's just absolutely amazing to see. We saw Slaf kind of tipping his hat to Suzuki there for just a beautiful setup. And again, just keeping it going on the power play, even if it's not there 5v5 all the time, the fact that they're just contributing to the game, and some as a unit together, even if it's just on the power play as well. But of course, you want to see that, on the even strength play as well, kind of looking to continue. So that is so important. And we just look to see them take even more steps as the season continues.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see. And I mean, Cole Caufield not getting a point tonight, but 4 shots on goal. He had 3 misses too. Like, he had his opportunities. Not every game's going to work out for him. And Pittsburgh looked like they kind of knew how to handle Montreal's offensive pressure, except for in that second period. They were doing a decent job of getting the puck out, but Montreal had a stretch in that second where it was absolutely unbelievable. And that was in large part due to that first line. I wanted to read some chats too. We got Jason saying we started GoFundMe to buy out his contract. We got Alex saying we got Kaiden. He wants to see Kaiden play the second line. Derek saying Hughes will be prepared for Demidov. We'll have a capable second line center. We'll have something. There'll be some more big moves. This upcoming offseason is going to be big, but I don't want to look too far ahead. Jesse, the other big thing here is Emil Heineman. And before we get into our boys on defense, which I think are the big story of this game, Emil Heineman, this guy stole the 4th line spot. I don't even want to say stole. He earned that 4th line spot. And he's come out here and he's been playing amazing. This 4th line with him, Kaiden, and Dvorak has been so good. The hustle, especially from Heineman, and just the combination of control and smart plays from those 3 guys has been really, really nice to see. And of course, Heineman scored his goal last game and he comes in tonight and is like, you know what? I'm ripping this in the 2-on-1, and he scores. It was a bit of a weak one by Jari, but it was also a very hard shot. It's not like it was a bad goal to let in. I've been really impressed with Emil Heineman so far, and this 4th line with Dvorak on, again, it doesn't feel like a 4th line. It feels like the Habs kind of have 2 third lines, and either of them can be doing well any night, but this Heineman-Dvorak Kapanen thing, to me, is working really, really well.
Because they were really bringing the energy. Like, what a shot from Heineman. Again, that was so important for just kind of sustaining that offensive pressure, which I think was so kind of big, especially in this game, like early on. Like, as you mentioned, Josh, like those first 10 minutes weren't the best. I do like the way that the Habs responded, because they could have played the whole game kind of like that, just taking a back seat, but something kind of happened, right? Like, Cole Caufield made a move, Lane Hutson made a move, and you see the way that just electrified the entire building. Then Anderson comes up on the forecheck with a big hit, and then followed by another one, right? Probably Gallagher. And it's just, the whole building just gets going. So the fact of just, the 4th line was bringing that energy, and then it's just contagious of how it really goes to the rest of the team from there. And that's one thing that I like to see. Like, that continued into the second period. We played so good, and we had like some solid moments in that third period as well, where it's like, we really could have taken this game, right? Obviously, it kind of, we lost, control of it at a certain point. But, you have to like the fact that at least the response of kind of coming through, like the Habs now know, okay, we need to play with energy. We need to play with pace, and also coming hard on the forecheck, because Heineman was a big part of that tonight. He was coming in so hard on the forecheck. And that is key for this team, especially earlier on when they were looking to kind of change those momentum. And some of those important moments where you don't even have the puck on the stick, where you're really able to affect the game.
You make a really excellent point, because throughout that first period, those first 10, 12 minutes where Montreal was getting nothing going, a large part of it is because the forecheck just wasn't that good. The dump and chase game wasn't working. They were getting one shot maybe and it was gone. This play along the boards, this physical play to keep Pittsburgh hemmed in their own zone was just not working. But then all of a sudden you get, like you said, that third and fourth line, and even sometimes the first with Slafkovsky, or even got Dach on the second. But a lot of the time it was the third or fourth line just starting up with that physicality. We saw Barron lay a big hit, and then Anderson. Like you said, the crowd starts getting into it, and then all of a sudden, Heinemann's coming out of nowhere, laying the body, and he's a threat to score from anywhere, and that changes the momentum of this game altogether. So it was really, really good to see that. I completely agree. It's been really, really good to see that fourth line working well. But I did want to move on, because we got to talk about some of the boys, and including Lane Hutson and Kaden Guhle, as we get Alex again. Alex, thank you so much for the donation. Donating so much this stream. Really appreciate it. Simply saying, excuse me, I'm going to burp. There we go. You guys should do a play-by-play of the Habs games. Love your content. Well, I mean, we could. I feel like we'd be competing with a lot of, big other places. I mean, that's a long thing too, because that's a couple hours. But I mean, we've done a watch along before, Jesse. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to doing maybe a couple of those this season if we plan it well in advance. I mean, we did one before. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's one of our favorite things to do, though, when we're actually watching. I know, like, the first game of the season, like, we're watching with some of our, Rocker Richard tier members, for sure. But that's some of the funnest stuff, is just being able to really speak about the game live. And, of course, we have the chat going as well, so we're all kind of talking about together. I absolutely love that. And, I think that'd be great to all do together.
I'd love to do it on an afternoon game if we have any of those this season, because I think that's what we did last time, and I think it's the easiest, most accessible time for people to come in. But we'll see about that. But, Jesse, it's time to talk about the defense. And I want to start with Hutson, simply because Lane Hutson, he is still very electric. And while he didn't quite get those end-to-end rushes like we saw in the last game versus Ottawa, he was still very impactful. And I will bring all of your attention down to the even strength time on ice column, where Lane Hutson played 24 minutes of even strength time on ice, setting the record for the most even strength time on ice for any, or 5-on-5 time on ice, for any Montreal Canadiens player in their first 5 games in their career ever. And this guy, he only played 42 seconds of power play time. Montreal only had, 2 power plays in this game, and the first one scored pretty quickly into it. And so Hutson was only out there for 42 seconds of a power play. He doesn't really play penalty kill at all, and he still logged. He was only 6 seconds behind Mike Matheson. This guy was the most used even strength player, I believe, in the game, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go check. But Jesse, I mean, yes, he made some mistakes. Yes, he was a -4, which was the worst on the team. He was on the ice for 4 Pittsburgh goals. But at the same time, like, he's, again, what sticks out to me is how much trust he is gaining from his teammates and from the coaching staff, because we also saw extended stretches of this game where he was paired with Guhle again, sometimes just after power plays, which makes sense. You want to stagger Matheson, whatever, take him off and you take Guhle on, whatever. But still, there were stretches where it was him and Guhle, and I think Marty is getting closer and closer and closer to promoting him, maybe to a higher defensive pairing and to the PP1 every single day. Though I will say Matheson had 2 assists tonight and did look pretty good on the power play.
I think we're getting very close. I wouldn't even be surprised out of the next game, definitely even the next 2. Martin saying that we might need to see one more. I wouldn't even be surprised for next game, Josh, where we're seeing Kaden Guhle and Lane Hutson being penciled in from the start of the game together, because this is a common trend, Josh. And like, Lane Hutson isn't coming to play with Kaden Guhle. It's like Kaden Guhle's coming actually to play with Lane Hutson, because Guhle can actually log all the minutes to kind of play along with Hutson. They need somebody to play along with Hutson that can also eat up those minutes, which in a lot of ways, Guhle, of course, he checks a lot of other boxes. But breaking a franchise record for most time on ice at even strength over your first 5 games in the NHL, this is absolutely, like, this is a meteoric and very rare rise that you don't normally see from a player, right? Like, Slav didn't have this type of beginning. No. Kotkaniemi sure didn't. Like, the list goes on for a while going back, right? Like, and we're talking about first picks, third overall picks. This guy was drafted 67 overall. And he said, you know what? Like, I was upset watching so many other people draft ahead of me. You know why? Because in his mind, he's like, because I know that he's better than a lot of those players, right? And he's really kind of proving it right now. Like, he is actually right now also first in the NHL in offensive zone possession time, ahead of McDavid, ahead of Jack Hughes, ahead of Nylander. Like, the list just continues. It is absolutely wild right now of how he's controlling play in the offensive zone. Kind of deked out Sidney Crosby, found his seam kind of between Penn's player was absolutely wild. And I'm looking for Hutson. Like, he's got a lot of assists, but expect the goals to be coming because he's looking to set up other players, kind of everything for him. But soon he's going to start looking for himself. He's going to make that move, and he's just going to take it himself. And even this game, he started doing that a little bit more, taking that shot at the end, right? To really time it up, and rightfully so, because, you know, even again, we're going to throw one more statistic at you real quick for Lane Hutson. He is second right now in the league also for carrying the puck, the zone entries, going coast to coast with it. Like, he is absolutely just phenomenal right now, not just among defensemen, not just against, you know, for rookies. We're talking about the entire NHL right now for what he's doing. So it's absolutely a historic beginning for him.
Yeah, it's been crazy. And I heard some people saying, like, you know, how many players in the NHL get this kind of hype in their first few games where, like, they were asking Penguins players, and one of them knew Hutson's jersey number. And it's like, you know, you just, he's electric. People are seeing who he is. They know they have the game plan against him. And how rare is it to have a guy come in and for him not to have to adjust to the NHL, but for the NHL to have to adjust to him from the second he steps on the ice? Yeah, the guys like Connor Bedard have to do that, but like Lane Hutson is playing a style that we just don't see, and it's absolutely unbelievable. So, I mean, I know the Lane Hutson love doesn't stop, but there's a good reason for it. So I am going to read through the chat, though. There's a few things here. Long-term 2 years, Hage, talking about Michael Hage in the chat. I think Hage is the forward version of Mayu. Dominant AHL first. Yep. Maybe. I mean, like, Hage, forward version of Mike, maybe. I don't know. I feel like their play styles are a bit different, but could be cool. Image saying, we play Toronto on the 9th. Absolutely. George saying, thank you, Josh, for being concerned about my mental health. I'm back. As of a couple weeks ago, it took 15 months to get back. Well, George, that is a long journey, but I know you've been around for so long, and I saw some people in the chat praising you for that, so stay strong from Mark. I see Image saying, Godspeed, George. Absolutely, George. I mean, Jesse, it's always great to see George around here, right? And he said he hopes to be back a little bit more as well, so, and he just pressed like on the stream. So if all you guys want to hit like on the stream, try and get us to 50. I know there's only 100 people in here, but let's get to 50. Jesse, that's always a nice thing to have some familiar faces come back around.
George, you know, you have a big place in our hearts here. One of our first and most loyal, you know, subscribers for such a long time, always in the comment section, always spreading that love and that positivity. So we're so happy to have you back, brother.
For sure. And I'm going to take a look. We got a lot of people saying learning curve, trust the process. Hutson's the truth. Hutson was -1. His entourage was -3. I gotta say, it definitely wasn't Hutson's fault on a lot of those goals. Like, you watch, it was funny because the camera, every time he was on for a goal against, the camera would just go to Hutson, even though it wasn't his goal against. But that's the thing. He's got that media. He's got that thing. He's got that gravity, I guess, and the people just want to talk about him. But Jesse, you know, I think to me, the guy that keeps standing out, flying under the radar. I mean, Hutson is the big story, straight up. Him and like Slafkovsky getting his first goal, absolutely amazing. But the guy that I love to talk about, and he's my guy, and I'm not gonna stop with this love for my boy Kaden Guhle, because I'm gonna play this highlight again. Let me see which one. This one. Like, first of all, Matheson with the sick pass fake. But Jesse, once again, when you watch Kaden Guhle on the ice, I mean, he only played 19 minutes tonight, but he was solid in every single one of those, including he's in a point per game. This guy's at a point per game this season. Him and Lane Hutson, and Juraj Slafkovsky, and I think Nick Suzuki, and they're all at a point per game this season. And now Caufield as well, because he has 4 goals in 4 games. The scoring of Montreal, this is one thing we said before the season, the depth scoring is going to need to be there. But we were talking about Guhle and how he has that crazy offensive upside, because we've seen this happen. He's finally getting more comfortable on the right side, not only offensively, but also defensively. Kaden Guhle has looked extremely solid in his own zone. The amount of plays he makes right in the slot to thwart a chance. There was one time he blocked a shot about a foot in front of Montembeault and just cleared it out into the corner like nothing even happened. He's knocking passes down. He's playing well on the boards, and now he's scoring these goals on offense. He's on the ice for almost every single 5v5 Montreal goal. It wouldn't be every single one this season, minus the Emil Heineman goal that did happen tonight while it was 5v5, and I don't think Guhle was on the ice for that. So that's the thing for me, Jesse. I mean, look, I know he's not as big a story as Lane Hutson, but this guy, to me, every single night is showing that he has that #1 defenseman potential in him. And every game he seems to be growing, and I can't help but be impressed, especially now that we're probably going to end up seeing him playing with Hutson a lot more.
Exactly. No, he's just doing a little bit of everything, and he deserves the praise because, like, a lot of the work that he does, it's so easy to kind of, just to kind of quickly just kind of glance over, because he's really doing all the little details right, in the game all the time. What I really liked as well is like he's showing his leadership role with his team, and the fact that after that dirty hit on Heineman, how he's really coming, to the support of his teammates there and being the first one to kind of get in the mix, So we see that he's a leader for this team, but he's really doing it when it matters. And we know that offensive side, that's the next big part of his game to really take a jump up. We know what we can do defensively. He is so incredibly reliable. It's just how much of an offensive ceiling does he really have? Well, that shot, is really saying that there's more to come there. So it's more about, Kaden Guhle just being patient. He's definitely going to find his spots.
Yeah, I think he's going to see a bit of an uptick in scoring as well. As I look back at the box score, so he was a +1, but again, he was the only defenseman on the team that was a plus. And other than Heineman, it was only Guhle and Heineman who were +1 or better on Montreal tonight. They were the only ones who were not a net zero or negative. So to me, that is a big thing for Kaden Guhle. As again, I keep looking at the Lane Hutson even strength, Jesse. I can't help it. Like I'm looking at this and I'm 24 minutes even strength is absolutely absurd. I don't even think I can bring up I don't have the box score, but still, maybe one final thing. I know I mentioned earlier that the Habs kind of seem to have 2 third lines, but as I'm looking here, like I'm looking at the time on ice and the number of shifts, like Armia only had 16 shifts, while Anderson had 19, and then Dach had 19, and Dvorak had 15, Evans had 18, and then Heineman and Kapanen each had 14. Like, it's really that close. Like, the lowest time on ice among all forwards was Emil Heineman, but he scored, and he still played 11 and a half minutes. And so, like, obviously, the most used players are Nick Suzuki, Cole Caufield, and Juraj Slafkovsky. Those are the top 3. But other than that, there's a lot of guys there between that 12 to 14 minute range. So Montreal has kind of done this before, even in the past years, like years and years ago I'm talking about. But when you have that depth, especially like we said, when you're getting that depth scoring, I don't know. It's maybe just a last minute thing that I'm noticing, but I'm super happy to see that the Montreal depth, like it's not even that like, oh, they don't have that much talent, so they got to play everyone equally. I think everyone has almost so much talent. And they're all they're almost forcing their hand with Marty. It's like, look, my name's Emil Heineman. I have an NHL-ready shot. I'm fast and I lay the body, and I've now scored in back-to-back games. Play me where I'm Oliver Kapanen. If you don't give me playing time here, I will dominate here. But if you don't, that's fine. I'll go play first line of the SHL. It's like this bottom end talent from Montreal is also still young. Like Emil Heineman is 22 years old. So the fact that they're forcing Marty's hand to play these guys as much as these $6.5 million vets is definitely really encouraging.
Yeah, you have to feel like Marty's really impressed by, players like Heineman right now, Kapanen, as he's mentioned. And that's why they're getting as much power play time as we're getting. Like Kapanen was winning a lot of puck battles tonight. Again, really good stick in terms of just being able to break up plays, very consistently for his team. Again, Anderson's strong play continues, kind of knowing his role a little bit more, just keeping things simple, playing with speed, getting hard on that forecheck is so important for this team, right? So he's kind of seeing that he can affect this team in a lot of ways. It's not always on the score sheet, which he has done, a little bit of this season as well, but these other ways of really helping as well. And I just really want to see Josh Anderson lean into that, pun intended, even more on to continue this season.
I'm excited to see the development of Josh Anderson and Justin Barron as penalty killers. And as the days go by, I start to get more and more worried about Alex's prediction that Logan Mailloux is going to play penalty kill for Montreal this season. Because I said if he did, then he could come on a stream and talk about it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But all in all, I think that'll probably do it for this one. We don't have too much more, but I'm going to read the chat one last time. George saying, Jesse, you're making me cry. Boo-hoo. Well, you know what, George? I hope those are tears of happiness. I think they are. Image1 saying, I'm just going to cave and pay for the games. Which package gets me the most for Habs games? I think Sportsnet, probably, but I don't know because it's like split between Sportsnet and TSN. And I know you said earlier your normal sites are not working. Yeah, I've been experiencing the same thing. However, I do have Prime, so I watched tonight with absolutely no issues, which was really cool. So let's see what else we got here. Guhle will replace the A from either Matheson or Gallagher in time. He'll be 25 when Gallagher retires. After Gallagher retires, that's a leader's age. I think that's coming, Jesse. I mean, Guhle's been a captain pretty much every level he's been at, and even in the interviews with the media, he just has a different presence about him. Like the way he speaks and the way he talks about things, I think that's very possible. Final thing here from George saying, I hope Xhekaj gets the A after my Galley retires or gets traded. Happy. I mean, you know what? Xhekaj is going to be a guy that's very, very impactful for this team for a long time too. Mark saying, great show. Thanks for the opportunity. Good night and go Habs go. Prime should bid on the next broadcasting deal. The analysts weren't great, I will say, the pre-show, but I thought the production was good. Jesse, any final words before we sign off on this live stream?
Yeah, well, we wanted to get the W tonight, but a solid effort in a lot of ways still. It's about this team kind of maturing and learning to get over the hump in these very close games, right? But it's nice to feel like we can kind of be in the mix, even when we're losing against Boston, against Pittsburgh. We're right there. We're also scoring goals, which is also a big, huge sign for this team as well. So it's all about just eliminating those shots from the slot, though. Going in this game, we were ranked 30th in the league in allowing shots from the slot. That obviously didn't help our case early on and was the cause of a couple early goals there. So if we can just eliminate some of those kind of problem spots there, I think that this young team's going to keep continuing to hum along here.
D-Corps is going to keep stepping up. Eventually, they're going to learn and get better. It's still already a bit better than it was last year, I will say, defensively. And they're learning. They have spurts where it's really, really good. Still spurts where it's really, really bad. Sod bad against the Leafs, Sod against Pittsburgh. But yeah, I think that'll do it. So guys, thank you all. On your way out, if you could just leave a like, simply. I want to get to 50. That just means 11 people who haven't hit the like button down below. Getting to 50 would be really nice, so I'd really appreciate that. But that will do it for this live episode of Habs Digest. Thank you all for tuning in this late at night. This game started really late. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We passed 15K, but you guys know we have much bigger goals, and you guys have been supporting like crazy recently too, and we really, really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.